What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and this is part 29 of my ranking and reviewing of the Grateful Dead's Dave's Picks, their concert archival release series. I'm reviewing them in order, so I will review volume 29, and then I will rank where 29 falls in relation to the other 28 that I've already reviewed elsewhere on this channel. What do we get with volume 29? We get a 3 CD set that is a complete show plus 3 bonus tracks. And the complete show is from February 26th, 1977, the Swing Auditorium in San Bernardino, California. An oft-traded, collected bootleg tape from back in the day that I think everybody I know who had more than 12 tapes probably had this tape in their collection. Really good quality soundboard that floated around, plus a pretty interesting set list. And while the set list might ultimately not live up to the expectations, or maybe actually does live up to the expectations of the set list, it is a really, really, really great first set, and a second set that has fantastic moments that might not actually live up to the hype that the first set creates, but I almost think it doesn't need to, because the first set is so fantastic and actually provides some of the moments that a second set normally would. And this was the only the first show of 77. They had only been back, 76 after their hiatus. They're working in 2 new songs here. But yeah, this is a tape that I loved when I was listening to my tapes, because one, the sound quality was fantastic, of course, as it is on this release. And it's a really, really interesting show. The set list is very interesting. First song, so the entire first set fits on disc 1. And the entire show, the entire tour, all of 77, opens up with the very first performance of Terrapin Station. My favorite song. They played that to open up the second set and my very first show, and that forever left an impact on me for lots of reasons. But that's my favorite song. And it's not the most confident version. It's not the best version. The little pre-inspiration section kind of is not as spacey and creepy as it would get. You can still see they're trying to figure out how to make that work. It even goes back into like some of the Lady with the Fan chords and for a brief second in what feels like maybe an awkward way, or a way they're like, oh no, that's not going to work. Let's not do that. But it works. The song is great. For the most part, they nail it. It's really, really neat to hear them open a show with it, which I don't think they would ever do again. Then we get a pretty good high-energy New Minglewood Blues. Nice, They Love Each Other. We're now slowing it down. And then we get the debut of Estimated Profit. Really nice here in the first set. Kind of weird. The jam is not very spacey and out there as much as it's just like a in the pocket, a little laid back, not as aggressive as like the middle solo. Kind of an in the pocket sort of estimated jam where they're just kind of feeling the song out and writing out afterwards and having a good time. Not the most epic thing, but a nice start to a song that would have many incredible performances over the years, and really nice to hear it smack dab in the first set. We then get a Sugaree. We're not yet reaching those 15-minute epic limits that we would in a couple months, but you can feel it. You can hear like the solos are starting to, each of the solos is a little bit different and going slightly different places. You start to hear a little bit of that sliding back and forth that would kind of dominate some of the more epic versions of later in the year. You can definitely see that this song is going someplace and it's going to be a contender. It's a great performance, up there, but just not one of those ultimate all-time Sugarees. A Mama Tried, into Deal, a nice Deal, not closing the set, because after Deal, it's a pretty good deal. We're jamming out the end a little harder than we, had been, but still not too epic. We get a fantastic Playing in the Band, Into the Wheel, into the Playing in the Band. The Playing in the Band has just really good playing energy. It's very fun. Not really spacey. What did I write here? Oh, no, that's that. That's talking about Estimated Jam. So once we get into Playing in the Band, we almost immediately just kind of ease into like a really spacey sort of like playing type energy. And then at one point, Jerry just starts, for quite a while, they explore this. And then at one point, Jerry starts playing these almost like galloping type chords to kind of up the energy. Not that he's going to continue with the theme of the galloping chords, but like, hey guys, we need to get things going a little bit. And then he, gallops them up to a higher sort of tempo. And then he starts playing some really low funky notes and exploring other ideas. And it goes on for, quite a while. We got a really nice drum presence. As with the 76 show I recently did, the drummers are very present. We get a very almost feels like a pre-drums segment at one point where you get these rolling drums that you almost feel like the drums could just take over, but they don't. They just kind of dictate sort of the bounciness of the jam for quite a while. And it really works. It's got a very playful attitude, I think, throughout. I think everybody sounds like they're having a good time. It's a first set playing that drops like a 13-minute, maybe like a 10-minute jam on us, right? So they are playing. They're going places, they wouldn't go forever. So it has a really nice energy about it. Though playing head closed mini a first set. This would not be the norm from here forward. So it's kind of neat that they're doing that now. The transition into wheel, you can start to hear knowing the wheel is coming. If you didn't know wheel was coming, you might not guess they're going into wheel at first. But once you realize that, you can feel like, okay, they're trying to get there. Like it's an idea and they're trying to happen. It's trying to happen. And then at one point, Jerry's like, oh no, I got this. We're going in. He just dramatically starts playing the chords. Then they go into the wheel. Then they go back out into playing. And it's amazing. It's fun. It works. Yeah, I wrote that the segue is very exploring. Like they're trying to figure it out. Like they're like, okay, this is something maybe we just got to figure out how to work this. And Jerry's fine, we're just going to do this. And then we get a very nice post-wheel jam that kind of calms things down. But a fantastic first set. You open with Terrapin Station. You close with 25 minutes of playing the wheel back into playing. The middle section has a new estimated prof. You get a They Love Each Other. You get a really fantastic Sugaree. Bob sounds good on Mama Tried. We only get one country song, but it goes into Mama Tried into Deal. Really, really good, solid, excellent, fun sounding first set. They don't quite live up to the expectations in the second set. And a lot of that definitely has to do with the set list and the construction of the set list. So disc 2, the first 7 songs, you get a Samson, standalone Samson. Okay, this is going to be a commonplace for this second set. Good energy. A Tennessee Jed, which again, I've always said that all Tennessee Jeds are worth hearing because Tennessee Jed is a pretty great song. But this one feels almost a little lazy. Like it's just taking it a little too easy. Like, hey, this is a second set Tennessee Jed. You need to have a lot more energy than this. It still works. I think Tennessee just builds nicely, and by the time we get to that solo, Jerry knows how to release the energy, but it's a lazy Tennessee. And it's on the verge of being a little too not working in the set. But it does. Followed by The Music Never Stopped, which once we get in, it sounds good, well performed. Once we get into the solo section, the little spacey part that precludes the drop back into the groove is super short and almost non-existent. And they quickly drop into that groove. And then we just ride that really nice upbeat groove all the way towards the end. And Jerry's just going off and soloing. Nothing too epic, but a really nice little treat. And then we get, this is the fourth release in a row, right? We get a Help Slip Franklin's. Another Help Slip Franklin's. I can listen to Help Slip Franklin's all day. The Help on the Way feels like a middle of a second set Help on the Way. A little more laid back energy, a little more patient energy. Hey, we've been doing this for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. I can take my time in this solo. I don't need to rush anything. Doesn't hurt the song, doesn't slow it down, but there is sort of a mature calmness to Jerry's middle solo that I really like. The Slipknot is pretty straightforward Slipknot. We get just a single Jerry attack where Jerry's just I'm just going to go off. You guys do whatever you do around me and I'll pay attention and try not to get in your way. The solo does get sort of weirder and weirder the longer Jerry goes on. but we don't go into like those really deep space explorations that we were getting on the one from the 80 show that I just did a couple releases ago. And probably of the recent three, I think it's three that we've done. I think this is probably the weakest of the three, but it's still really good because it's a Slipknot jam. And again, it's Jerry's Attack still is also, even though it's a little more aggressive than maybe the pocket solo and Help on the Way, it is a little more laid back and not as like pushing the boundaries, but it sounds fun and it works. And like, I'm not complaining about it, but it's just not an epic must-hear Slipknot. Then we get a Franklin's Tower, which again, just we're going with this lazy vibe. It's still kind of chill. We got some nice peaks, I think, in like the second solo, but nothing too outrageous. It is definitely your typical sunny afternoon Franklin's Tower. We're maybe a little bit tired by this point, but the energy's good. We enjoy playing the song. We're just definitely not incredibly amped up at this moment. And then we get a Promised Land, because why not just throw a Promised Land in the middle of the set? Then we go over to disc 3. We get an Eyes of the World, and this Eyes of the World is like a early morning, just waking up Eyes of the World. Like, you're ready for the day. Like, you're not waking up with a hangover. You're not waking up like dreading what's ahead. You're like excited to wake up, right? The sun's coming up, but you still need some coffee. You probably need a pretty big breakfast. You're not ready to jump right into your activities. You need a couple hours to ease into them. And that's what Eyes of the World sounds like. It's just like, it's comfortable, it's calm, it's enjoyable. It's not in a hurry to get anywhere. We get some nice pre-vocal jamming. When we get to the end of it, we kind of quickly devolve into sort of like some just like getting ready for the next song, sort of Phil solo funky bassiness, where Phil kind of takes over and everybody else is like, okay, we made it through Eyes. It's just like, let's enjoy the day or something. But Phil takes over after Eyes. After a short little while, we get some really nice, not really soloing because the drummers are definitely still there, but we get a really nice sort of like, just sort of pushing things and like playing some little funky notes, trying to maybe quote flirt with some disco energy. Just a really nice little bass solo jam type thing. Into Dancing. Dancing, it's not a smooth segue once we do finally go into that, but it's pretty interesting. Again, they're taking chances tonight on their segues, and I think the payoff is, they might not be perfect segues, but I think they're really interesting. Really high energy, funky dancing jam. We don't get that written part at the end that they had been playing where it's like, bam, 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 and they go into that weird little thing that they would add in certain things. That's not here on this one. We're just going into a jam, back into the vocals. But I like it. It's a really good high energy. It feels weird because after this, there's 2 more songs, and it doesn't feel like a show-ending jam, or the jam doesn't have a peak that feels like a show-ending peak. It doesn't feel like they're leaving it all on the dance floor because they know the end is almost here. So I think had it been earlier in the set, it would be maybe just feel better and feel different. Had it been in the first set, it would have felt completely different. But there is something about the placement of it and this particular performance of it that just feels like, I don't know, just feels not off, but I'm like, I want a little more at the end of a show, right? Then we get an Around and Around, which has a little bit of a 76 hangover. It seems like it's a little lethargic. And then a U.S. Blues. And the bonus tracks are from the following night, in which they drop an absolutely awesome, epic Morning Dew. And then I think it's the last 3 songs of the show. Morning Dew, and then we get a Sugar Mag, which is a pretty good high-energy Sugar Mag, and then a Johnny Be Good. So really nice way to flesh out the show, the set, the 3rd CD. But it's a good show. Like, it's one of those I've known for decades, just because of the sound quality, because everybody had it, so you heard it a lot. I don't think in any way it's bad. The first set is fantastic. The second set is sort of... the problem with the second set is the sequencing. I mean, I think if you open with Help Slip Franklin's, right, then maybe go into like a Samson, Tennessee, have a nice little break. You drop a music, we're getting the jam energy back. Then maybe you drop that Eyes Dancing, Promised Land. I don't know why that's even in there. Maybe throw that towards the end. But anyways, yeah, I enjoy this show a lot. I really think that my love for this show might not actually be in direct relation to how it is to people who haven't been listening to this for decades. So I'm trying to be as objective as possible, which is a silly thing. But yeah, trying to be critical of the show that I do really, really love. But where would I rank it? I would put it right there. I put it right there at number 13. Right above the one I just did in the previous video. They have a lot of the same songs, and obviously they're just, 6, 7 months apart, 8 months apart. But I think the first set of this one is so incredible. Just opening with the Terrapin, which I can't complain about, and I really, really enjoy that Playing Wheel playing. They're pretty comparable. Like almost the entire, I would say the top 10 is starting to solidify into a pretty above S tier top 10. Then we get a whole run of shows that are maybe A+, S- tier. Like we don't have stinkers on here, right? But it's really hard. We're just like picking nits. We're coming down to 1 or 2 songs at this point. Once we get to the end and we get to those 78 shows and 71 shows, that's when I think, for me personally, there's maybe a little bit of drop interest level just because of what songs are being played and sort of the lack of jams or what the jams generally evolve around. But none of these are bad. But yeah, I would say right there, 13. It's a top tier one. My listening to this, all these years might have influenced this decision. But I'm comfortable putting it right above those other 76 shows because I do think once we hit 77, for some reason, just a little bit of magic seems to be sprinkled all over everything in a way that it wasn't in 76. But yeah, I'm going to comfortably say 13 for now. Though it's, again, no way bad. It's great. But yeah, that's the problem with ranking shows that are all great. You got to pick, right? All right. That's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share. Go listen to music. Go listen to music, people. Go listen to this show, right? Now, while you're watching this, to find more reasons to listen to this show, 77 Dead. Doesn't get much better than that, people. Even the very first show of the year shows that this band could bring it. So, yeah. Thanks. Peace. Subscribe. Talk to you later. Yeah, and go Miami. Spurs are not in the playoffs this year, but Miami, Heat, go Heat. Sorry to alienate you people if you're not Heat fans.